From Hollywood, California, it's Film 99. Welcome to Hollywood, where even as I speak, literally dozens of household names are working on their Oscar acceptance speeches in the hope that pretty soon they'll be picking up a small, shiny, bald man. And I don't mean Danny DeVito. I am personally so excited to be here that I'd like to quote Dustin Hoffman on picking up his little fella and thank my mother and father for not practicing birth control. So now please join me as preparations get underway for the greatest show on earth. By far the largest booking of stretched limousines on the evening will be from the people behind Shakespeare in Love. Because just like Gone with the Wind and Forrest Gump, that delightful romantic comedy has picked up an incredible 13 nominations.
Oh, my lady, my love!
If they find you here, they will kill you.
You can bring them with a word.
Oh, not for the world. Anon!
A fictional tale of the inspiration behind Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare in Love is not only in the running for the all-important best film. Many of the cast, the writers Tom Stoppard and Mark Norman, and the director John Madden could all bring Oscar home. If you had to put your finger on one or two of the elements that you thought have made Shakespeare in Love quite so successful, what do you think they would be?
Tom Stoppard, William Shakespeare. At the bottom of it is an amazing script. And it's about the most amazing, I suppose, imagination that storytelling has ever known.
I know your face. Are you an actor?
Yes.
Yes, I think I've seen you in something. That one about a king.
Really?
I had that Christopher Marlowe in my boat once.
Let me ask you about some of the cast, because of course many of them are nominated, and once again deservedly so. We have Gwyneth Paltrow in the lead.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, I would have thought, everyone's first choice for playing an English woman of that period.
She was my first choice, have to be honest, because I'd seen her for another film that nobody ever saw about 6 years ago when she hadn't done anything, and she was astonishing in that audition. She seemed the perfect casting to me.
Good sir, I heard you were a poet. But a poet of no words.
Dame Judith Dench, of course, nominated Best Supporting Actress for her fantastic rendition of Queen Elizabeth. But she's only on the screen for, what, 7-8 minutes?
Something like that. I haven't counted them, yeah. It's a commanding performance, you know. She's completely central to it.
Have her then, but you're a lordly fool. She's been plucked since I saw her last, and not by you. It takes a woman to know it.
A wonderful performance from Geoffrey Rush. Of course, he's no stranger to the Academy, and I've heard someone suggest that maybe they might be starting a whole new area for him, Best Teeth.
I need actors. Those of you who are unknown will have a chance to be known.
Well, what about the money, Mr. Henslow?
It won't cost you a penny.
So you have 13 chances on the big night for you to sit there.
13 murderous moments is what it's going to be. The one that would be wonderful to take home is the one for the film, because it's a complete collaboration, and that's what I'd like to be recognised.
Elizabeth the movie, which dramatises the Queen's early life, is another British hope for Best Film. And in the lead role, Australian actress Cate Blanchett gives perhaps the best performance of her career.
I'm enormously honoured and so thrilled and excited that that the experience of making Elizabeth, which for me was one of the high points in my career so far, has been recognised. It's fantastic.
God has placed me here. I am your anointed sovereign. I am your queen, and like my father, I mean to rule. There is one thing higher than royalty, my lord, and that is religion.
a period which celebrated life and theatre and literature is somehow touching people. I think there's a yearning for people to go back to basics or something. So I find it quite curious.
Everyone feels that Cate Blanchett gives a spectacular performance, and I think that's a large part of what pulled this film along. People fell in love with that performance.
Do you think there's an element in which the Academy are looking at British films, dealing with British history, and there's a certain respect, even perhaps an undue respect, that comes from that will help these movies?
I was surprised. I mean, I wasn't surprised because I'd heard that people liked it, but after I'd seen the film, if you would have said to me, this is going to be a big Academy picture, I would have said probably not.
The Enemy's men are returned to the house!
Shakespeare in Love appeared really out of nowhere. There's very little advance publicity. The thing just kind of appeared, and everyone loved it. It's a charming film, and it definitely peaked at the nomination period. And the question is, can it still hold on? Does it have enough energy left to finish? And I tend to think it doesn't, though it wouldn't be a shock if it won. I tend to think you have to say it's the #2 film.
Of course, the real costume drama takes place on the actual evening of the Academy Awards itself. It seems that most people these days are more interested in what their favourite stars will be wearing on Oscar night than whether or not they actually win one. And the real winners, as always, might well be the designers, people like Armani, Prada and Versace, who can gain millions of pounds worth of publicity if they can persuade one of the main nominees to squeeze themselves into one of their tight, impossibly glamorous, shimmery little numbers. This is the Oscar Fashion Preview, organised by fashion impresario Fred Heyman, who hopes everything on the night will be just beautiful.
You're going to see beautiful clothes indeed this year. Beautiful shoes and great accessories. Awesome jewelry without it being too big or garish.
We're gonna see hair not bubbly. It's not gonna be too round. It's gonna be sleek hair.
So we can't look forward to the return of the Farrah Fawcett feather cut?
Not really, but...
Which is such a shame, though, because that poster of Farrah helped me through my difficult teenage years.
How much?
You wouldn't believe the amount of time I spent holding that picture up with just one hand, Frederick. I know you're one of the best in the film, but essentially this lady said you've just been running your fingers through it repeatedly. I'll be honest with you, Frederick, I could do that.
You've been distracting me a lot.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean
I'm just...
if that's what you have to do to get the top, then where do I sign up? I just went to an odd sort of fashion show this morning, Fred Heyman, who I'm sure you're aware of.
Very, very
hosts an annual bash where people come and see clothes which I think...
It's called a hype fest.
It's a hype fest. It's clothes which may or may not feature the Oscars.
They will no way be related to the Oscars. Good. I think Winona is really the big star of the Oscars. Jodie Foster always looks chic and wonderful. Uma Thurman in that great Prada dress from a few years ago.
Tell us about some of the frock shock horrors of Oscar years past. Who have really messed up on the style front?
Well, there was a year when Barbra Streisand won and she was wearing see-through pants, and which is kind of odd enough for the Oscars.
That's never a good look.
I don't think so.
What about Cher? She often seems to...
Oh, well, she does it on purpose, you know, and... You know, the year she wore the huge feathery thing, I mean, it was unfortunate because I think she won that year and she was trying to establish herself as a serious actress. But, you know, I think she just kind of has a great sense of humor about herself. And you can't make fun of somebody who's making fun of their own image.
Despite the way it might seem, not all of the movies slugging it out for the big awards are Elizabethan corset busters. 3 of the other films in the running for Best Picture all look for their inspiration back to the Second World War. Saving Private Ryan still has leading odds for Best Film and Director and could bring about a 3rd Oscar win for Hollywood favourite Tom Hanks. After 20 years in the wilderness, comeback director Terrence Malick's much-anticipated but dreary war epic The Thin Red Line is based around another US landing, this time at Guadalcanal in the Pacific.
I got him! I got him!
And set within Nazi-occupied Italy, Italian writer, actor and director Roberto Benigni audaciously succeeds in combining elements of comedy and romance with the horrors of the Holocaust in La Vita è Bella, Life is Beautiful. I think this is only the 2nd time that a foreign film has been nominated for Best Picture as well as Best Foreign Film. It must be, I imagine, very exciting for you. Did you expect it to have this kind of impact?
Mr. Jonathan, of course, no. This is a surprise, a gift, and I am full of joy, for jubilant. Very jubilant.
Andiamo, Giosuè, andiamo.
Perché i cani e gli ebrei non possono entrare, babbo?
E allora gli ebrei cani non ce li vogliono, ognuno fa quello che gli pare, Giosuè. Là c'è un negozio, là c'è un ferramenta, no? Loro per esempio non fanno entrare gli spagnoli e i cavalli. E cosa, là c'è un farmacista, no? Ieri ero con un mio amico, un cinese che ha un canguro. Dico, si può entrare? Dice, no, qui cinesi e canguro non ce li vogliamo. Gli sono antipatici, io, che ti devo dire?
My nature is to tell story. First of all, this is my duty, no? And it's the most wonderful thing in the world. What is better to tell a story?
Buongiorno, principessa!
Stanotte t'ho sognata tutta la notte. S'andava al cinema. Se c'avevi quel taglierino rosa che mi piace tanto. Non penso che a te, principessa. Penso sempre a te. E ora...
The most difficult thing was to mix this, to try to laugh and to cry at the same time. You know, I was really attracted by the idea to put a body of a buffoon in an extreme situation, and the extermination camp was, it's the extreme situation par excellence. Nicoletta Braschi is my favorite actress, and it's, I am in love with her, of course, like a little boy.
I was not aware until recently that the beautiful lady who you play, Nicolette, she is your wife.
My wife?
Is that your wife?
Oh, well, my wife, it's enough the name, and I started to gloat.
Life is Beautiful has been gathering awards since Cannes last year, and if an Oscar comes through, you can be sure that the exuberant Benigni will not fail to show his delight.
Well, somebody who gives you love, no, telling you, I love you. I know, it's, you have to return this love, no, and I let my body to do what he wants. If I win, I can say, oh, I won, like Claire Gable, like John Ford. If I don't win, I can say, oh, I didn't win like Charlie Chaplin, like Buster Keaton. It's good anyway.
Here's an unexpected choice, I would have thought. Tell us about why they may have gone for that.
Well, you know, this is very much in the mold of a Hollywood film. It happens to be Italian, it happens to have a great Italian comic, but the spirit of the thing is very familiar to Academy voters. This is the kind of thing that they grew up liking, and it just happens to be Italian this year. So that's one reason why this film is so popular.
And its chances?
It's a long shot. I would put it, I'd say it was probably number 3. If, you know, if Saving Private Ryan is number 1, I would put this as number 3.
I don't know anything about Ryan. I don't care. Man means nothing to me. It's just a name. But if, you know, if going to Ramel and finding him so he can go home, if that earns me the right to get back to my wife, well, then that's my mission.
Saving Private Ryan really is a classic Academy-type film. It's on a big subject, World War II. It's got epic scope. It's got an opening 20 minutes that no matter what you think about the film as a whole, you really say, boy, there's never been anything like this done before. It's got a star in Tom Hanks that the Academy likes. It's got, on paper, it's got almost everything.
You get a man to him right now with orders to attack, and you move him by the flank to the ridge. Then you get that second platoon, you move him over to the hill. Have him press the center. Go straight up that damn hill. You attack them right now.
Terrence Malick has become kind of a cult in Hollywood. Anything that Terry Malick finally makes a film, everyone is kind of ready to go like this. And I think that's partly what happened with this film. I think this film was impressive in some ways, not impressive in other ways. And I think, I would guess if they tallied all the votes, that this was the 5th film selected.
Here on Hollywood Boulevard, the Roosevelt Hotel was the setting for the very first Academy Awards on May the 16th, 1929, when Charlie Chaplin and Al Jolson's The Jazz Singer picked up special prizes. At that time, the movies were just beginning to talk, and the little golden man didn't even have a name. Although the official story has him christened by an Academy secretary who exclaimed, "Why, he looks just like my Uncle Oscar," legend gives the credit to Betty Davis, who suggested he resembled her first husband, the orchestra leader Harmon Oscar Nelson. Not surprisingly, it was Betty's great rival, Joan Crawford, who got to take Oscar to bed when she was at home with influenza the night she won for Mildred Pierce. Walt Disney received 7 little Oscars for every one of his magical 7 dwarfs. And long-time Master of Ceremonies Bob Hope also received a special Oscar for his efforts.
I hear you got an Oscar.
Yes, I did. I won one too. It hasn't grown up yet.
By 2001, a brand new home for the Academy Awards should be complete and will bring the Oscars back to Hollywood Boulevard, right next door to the famous Mann's Chinese Theatre. Among those hoping to pick up one of the last Oscars to be given out this millennium are a number of genuine screen legends. Meryl Streep's 11th nomination for One True Thing brings her within one of record holder Katharine Hepburn. Playing the daughter who comes home to take care of her mother after she's diagnosed with cancer is Renée Zellweger.
I'm sorry, can you hold on just a second?
Right.
It's a work thing.
Oh, I thought you said a friend.
So anyhow, the reason why I'm asking is because I'm sure that he's gonna need...
Are you gonna get ready soon?
I'm sorry. I'm kind of in the middle of something. It's kind of important. Okay. So anyhow, I need to know because
Well, you don't have to
think...
come if you don't want to, you know, honey. You really don't.
I'm really sorry. Just 1 second.
After more than 40 years in the business, James Coburn picks up a supporting actor nomination for his role as a violent and abusive father in Affliction. And playing the son who has to contend with a bad dad, a messy divorce and horrendous toothache, Nick Nolte is a strong contender for Best Actor.
Just leave it. Wait. Oh, God. Come on, girl. If you ever touch her again, I'll kill you. I swear it.
Alongside the established Hollywood legends, there are some more interesting nominations in both Best Actor and Best Actress category. Most notably, Fernanda Montenegro in the wonderful Brazilian movie Central Station. And more than a few eyebrows were raised when Ed Norton Jr. received his Best Actor nomination. He's the current wonder boy of American cinema, but this time out he appears in the controversial movie from British director Tony Kaye, American History X.
Drop your weapon! Put your weapon on the ground! Put your hands up! I said get your hands up! Now turn around!
Norton plays a violent neo-Nazi, worshipped by his younger brother, whom he later tries to prevent from following in his footsteps. When the producers refused Tony Kaye time to finish his version of the movie, they gave editorial control to Norton, and he may well have cut together an award-winning performance. Tony Kaye, however, is struggling to have his name removed from the film.
I'm obviously very thrilled for him, but I don't consider it to be my film. And I consider this performance to be in the middle of a void. And had I been allowed to complete what my vision was, I think there would be a lot more things going down there than just that one.
Oh, come on, give the guy a break.
What's the matter? You too big to give me a hug, tough guy?
No, man. I just know you're gonna, need someone to look after you while you adjust all this space.
Yeah, right. Edward Norton's not going to win, but I think he's very well respected. He's a very pyrotechnic actor. He's one of these chameleon-type actors that is really different in every film, and I think that's why he was nominated. People really respect his work a lot.
There's been a lot of what we would call brouhaha surrounding it.
Yes. Well, this is bad as far as the Academy is concerned. The Academy likes things tranquil, quiet. Academy hates controversy. Controversy surrounds your film, you're in trouble.
The Academy is itself no stranger to controversy. At the 1978 ceremony, protesters gathered to demonstrate both for and against Vanessa Redgrave's documentary, The Palestinians. In 1972, Marlon Brando sent an Apache woman to decline his Oscar for The Godfather in protest against Hollywood's treatment of Native Americans. And this year, a storm is brewing over the honorary Oscar to Elia Kazan. Many have never forgiven the director of On the Waterfront for testifying against his left-wing colleagues during the 1950s. More than ever before, the word across Hollywood is that the British are coming. But of course, this is nothing new. I'm standing in front of the former home of James Whale, the director from Dudley, who came here in 1930 and made his name with the classic Universal horror film Frankenstein. Gods and Monsters is the fictional account of his troubled life and earns more Brit nominations for Sir Ian McKellen in the lead role and a supporting nod for Lynn Redgrave as his trusty housemaid.
Who's this new yard man?
Mr. Boom, I don't know, something B. I hired him while you were in the hospital. He came cheap.
I had an argument with someone afterwards that you weren't, in fact, in the movie.
Well, a lot of people have had that argument. I love the fact that Hannah, you know, after all these years, I finally managed to play something where people don't immediately go, oh, well, Lynn Redgrave. It's wonderful. I love it. It's something that I've sort of aspired to.
Love dead, hate living. That's my favorite line in my favorite movie of yours, Bride of Frankenstein.
Is it indeed? Hannah, I think we're going to take our tea down by the swimming pool. Would that be good for you, Mr. Kaye?
Sure.
Well, lead on, won't you?
For me, as a relative newcomer to Hollywood, and only a visitor, to be up there with Tom Hanks and Nick Nolte it's very precious indeed.
Let me ask you about James Whale himself. What do you think you would have made of the man if you'd met him?
I'm pretty sure I would have liked him. He was an actor for most of his professional life. He got out of Dudley, which he didn't like, came to Hollywood, made a huge go, the most successful director of his time, financially and in acclaim, and then said, no, I've had enough of that, I'm going to retire. And through it all was openly gay. Had a wonderful life, as he said in his suicide note.
May I introduce Mr. Clayton Boone, my gardener.
How do you do? Clay Boone.
Quite. I adore gardens.
He's never met a princess, only queens.
Do you think you would have liked to have been directed by him?
Yes, I do, and I would love to have been in one of his classic movies. I think that's not the only ambition I've got, is to be in a movie that goes on entertaining people over the decades. Maybe Gods and Monsters is the one, though.
For her role as the overbearing mother in Little Voice, Brenda Blethyn is another British hope for Best Supporting Actress.
There we go, on and freak it. Cut that racket, girl!
Calm down, she's all right.
Oh, you little raver.
Because the character I play is so horrible, I thought it might put people off voting for it.
Call it, will ya?
I wondered whether that might be the case, because she is, you know, relentlessly unpleasant.
She's got no redeeming features at all, is she?
But also, you're so mean to poor little Voice.
Well, she's trying to cheer her up all the time, isn't it? Cracking joke.
Poor little thing upstairs.
It's not unusual to be loved by anyone.
The most unforgivable thing she does is she kicks her record player. And I mean, I'm one of those people who can't even, you know, that's so precious to her. People who turn down the corner of books, even a paperback, I can't stand it. And that's a sacrilege to kick her records.
But is there a certain kind of cathartic pleasure in actually being able to do these things that you yourself wouldn't want to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Also, I could practice at home, you know, shout at people. Get away with it.
Lovey, don't worry, it's only us, me and Ray, coming bearing good news, my lady.
Stupendous news, that is, Lily.
Mr. Boone would like you to sing at his club on stage.
Sing what you like.
He'll pay. Good money and all. Could be up to 50 quid, right,
Yeah,
Ray?
and that's just the start.
How do you, as a kind of group of actors who work together, how do you feel about the fact that only you've been nominated for the Academy Awards? Is it something you discuss?
Well, we haven't. No, I had a lovely letter from Michael, and I spoke to Jane. I was utterly astonished when that happened. In fact, I wasn't even available at the time of the announcements. I was so convinced I wouldn't be nominated, and I was feeling a little bit down in the mouth because I was totally convinced Michael and Jane would be.
Did you ever meet Shirley Bassey?
Shirley, dear old Shirley. Shirley. To be honest, love, as I remember, I don't think our paths ever crossed. I did meet Des O'Connor, though.
I can't help but think of it almost in a jokey way as well. You know, Brenda Blethyn's gone nominated for an Oscar. Makes me laugh.
And twice. So maybe the joke's on them. Where will you put it if, or rather, should I say when you go home with your Oscar? Where are you going to put it?
In the window with light shining on it. And I'll have one of those AA signs erected at the end of the road.
Hilary and Jackie offers yet further opportunities to up the Brit total and brings Emily Watson her second Best Actress nomination, playing virtuoso cellist Jacqueline Dupre. Based on a book by Sister Hilary, the film has caused controversy for its depiction of a troubled and demanding genius.
You know what I'm thinking now, don't you, sis?
Not really.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
I'll tell you.
No. I mean, just tell me.
I'm slightly bemused by people who think that the film is in some way an unsympathetic portrait of her, because to me it's made with so much love and respect, and I adore her. You know, and I think it would be very foolish to make a film where it's just a hagiography of somebody and you don't show their passion and their warmth.
You did study the cello, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I got sort of quite proficient, you know. I can do all the fingering in the right place and I can get the bow going the right way. I think what I do is like a very sort of poor cartoon drawing of what she was actually like. I mean, there's no way that I could really get anywhere close.
The Oscar ceremony, I think it's the most watched TV spectacle now. I mean, you get something like 47 million here in the US alone. What clothes are you wearing? What kind of jewellery? What kind of makeup are we talking this evening?
We are talking of Valentino. He sent me 3 hand-drawn sketches signed, and then he rang me up, and I was sitting there by the phone thinking, that phone's going to ring and it's going to be Valentino, and I sort of put on a clean shirt and sort of brushed my hair a bit. and he said, which one do you like? So he's...
Did he have to say, which one do you like?
He did.
How's his ice cream business going? Is that still flourishing?
And then I had to go, when I was here 2 weeks ago, I had to go to the fitting in Beverly Hills, and they measure you, and I tell you, they measure you in places you didn't know you had measurements. Like, there's one measurement that goes from here right round to here.
Wow.
And I tell you, if I knew that was going to happen, I'd have been wearing big knickers.
On behalf of everyone in the UK, I do hope they warmed up their measure first.
That was quite exciting, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid that my A string has come loose, and I'm going to have to restring my cello and start again. But at least it wasn't my G string.
This year's 71st Academy Award ceremony is taking place once again at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. And once again, Whoopi Goldberg is taking on the hosting chores, a job which is considered to be one of the scariest in the show business world. Just imagine having to deal with all those emotional actors and actresses trying so hard to string a sentence together without the benefit of a script.
Elizabeth Taylor.
I don't really know how to express my gratitude.
I don't have the envelope.
Say we come to one where you don't win and you're sitting there and you hear the film's name called out. Do you have a face ready for that moment when you know it isn't going to be yours? It's unthinkable, it's impossible, but if they were to open that envelope and say, for example, Tom Hanks, what would we be treated to?
I am psyching myself up to the certainty that I'm going to win, so that the 30 seconds on stage will be as good as I can make it. So, as they say, Tom Hanks, you can bet your bottom dollar I'll be getting out of my seat.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this special Oscar preview show. By this time tomorrow, some of Hollywood and Britain's finest will either be nursing their wounded pride or rejoicing in the fact that they've won a beautiful, shiny, golden doorstop. Please remember to join me next Wednesday for the very first in the brand new series of Film 99 here on BBC One. But a word of warning, if either Cate Blanchett or Roberto Benigni fail to win the Oscars, which I consider to be their due, then you'll probably find me in a terrible, girly sulk. In the meantime, thanks for watching and enjoy the view.